I need to feel your energy today from start to finish.
Come on, let's go.
Let's crank this thing up. It get real ferocious, I'm trying to tell you.
Turn me up all day.
From the locker room to the broadcast booth, breaking news and the truth behind every take from a real NFL insider and television analyst.
Now get ready for the NFL show where the conversation gets real and the fans get a voice. It's time for the Lake Lewis Jr. Show here on ESPN Radio.
And that's football.
Everyone to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. Appreciate you joining us as always. We've got a great show coming up for you today. Before we get into our lineup, just wanted to thank everybody for all the great compliments and nice job comments for our player show, that obviously you can hear here on Tuesdays on ESPN Radio. Myself and the big man Trent Scott from the Washington Commanders, and we're joined with a lot of his teammates, as you've seen. First, two shows we've had Jeremy Reeves, Pro Bowl, special teams guy, joined us for the first one. And then this week, obviously, we had Josh Connerly, last year's first-round draft pick for the Commanders. And we also had Andrew Wiley, longtime veteran offensive lineman, join Trent and myself. So we had a good time with that. And you even heard Alan speaking to us afterwards. I had a couple people, Alan, tell me that they thought that was pretty good. So, that was some interesting stuff there. So we're bringing it to the masses right now.
As long as you keep bringing offensive linemen on, I'm cool.
Yeah, I know. And you see, they even perked up. I didn't want to tell you that, but, they did sit up when I told them that you give offensive linemen a lot of love, which you did. So that you did. And they gave you some love back.
So much so when you were talking to them, I even knew who the players were just by their voices. I was like, I spent too much time in the locker room.
You did. You absolutely did. You said, that's Josh talking. I said, yeah, that's currently talking right now. So, folks, if you would like to join us today, all you have to do is call us at 804-327-0888. Okay, there we go. I was looking for you to help me out with that. I always get these numbers messed up in my head. So once again, folks, 804-327-0888. What we're going to do is, just to set up the show, what we're going to be talking about is what do we see from the Commanders and where are they right now? What is this football team? Who is this football team? I know it's OTAs, it's June, it's early. It's so much that we can talk about, and we're going to do that, based off of what I've seen so far. This looks like a really good football team in the making. But again, you've got to go out. You got to go through minicamp, which next week is mandatory minicamp. 3 days of that will be up there as well. Again, inside the bubble for the show. And then after that, there's that month break, which all of us look forward to in this business. Like, my God, I was already talking to Janine today, like, where are we going? We got to go somewhere. All right. So then after that, it's the dog days of summer. And I don't mean baseball. I mean football. Training camp, 90 plus degrees. You're out there all day. It's intense. It's fans out there. It's busy. And that's when you start to see a football team form and how good are they going to be. So we're going to talk about that. But before we do that, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, I've got a friend in here who is a new member of the family, sponsoring us, doing a great job. And you've got to find out who it is. But we're not going to tell you who it is just yet. You got to come back with us to find out who it is and the great work that this gentleman does in the community here in Richmond. So hang tight. You're listening to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. Beverly from my hometown of Washington, D.C. You didn't have to ask me if I was cool with that, though.
I just had to double check, man. It's just the courtesy of producer and host, man. You got to ask.
That's a legend. That's a legend. And speaking of someone that's doing some legendary stuff right now, I've got a friend of mine in studio with us right now. He is the founder and CEO of Hope for Learning, and you can check out Hope for Learning at hopeforlearning.org. And I'm talking about Mr. Chuck Capel. Chuck, I appreciate you coming on, my friend.
Appreciate it being here, man.
Now that you're sponsoring, the show and helping us with some of these great things that we're doing, I wanted to get you on because some of the things that we do on Tuesdays on this show is, I like to shout out people who are doing great things, people who are doing things in the community to help kids, help people. and your organization is absolutely at the forefront of that here in Central Virginia in Richmond. So tell our listeners Hope for Learning. What is it about, and how did this all come about?
Well, I founded this organization, Lake, in 2020 in the heart of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was retiring from another business and I wanted to do something different. I was already had my hand in education for a little bit and I want to keep it in education. So I said, I want to work with these little kids, the little kids. So we started out and we wanted only to work with Title I schools. And Title I schools are schools where 40% of that population falls below the poverty level. And so we wanted to work with them. And we started out with our mission focused on grade level reading, which is a very important aspect. But after about a couple of years in the industry, I realized we weren't doing enough. So I started to look at it for a while, and I thought about taking a holistic approach to this thing. And so we want to support the whole child. So we want to support that child in a way that, we can take care of all the things that hinder those students, which is food security, basic needs, clothing, things of that nature. And we continue to do that. And so what we're doing now, we're helping our kids in Henrico, Richmond, and Chesterfield. And we're just trying to make sure the kids be able to go to school and only have one thing to focus on, and that's learning.
And folks, I got to tell you this, we're going to get into our NFL stuff. Don't worry about that. But, anytime someone wants to support what I'm doing in my endeavors and I'm trying to help them in their endeavors, we want you to hear about this because this is a great cause. And, a lot of times there's a stigma that's placed on kids in the inner cities. And, we want to make sure that people are understanding that, you can help, at all times. And that's what it's about nowadays. It's about giving back and helping and doing all that you can. I know you guys just recently had a Hope for Learning 5K, that was over the past weekend, and from what we talked about, it went off really well, right?
Yeah, it went really well. It was our 6th annual charity 5K. And it was kind of special to me also because we took the initiative this time to support a family in the city of Richmond that was very much in need. A lady named Tiffany Terry, who was experienced some tragedy about 6-7 weeks ago where her boyfriend shot and killed both her kids.
Wow.
And shot her as well. And we wanted to support them. And so we did that. We took part of our proceeds and we presented her with a check on Monday of this week, actually. And,
a lot of the kids that you come in touch with, because these are elementary school kids, and these are kids that, Title I kids, these are kids that, probably see what I do and see the athletes that I'm with and they aspire to, maybe be that. But I know your organization helps these kids learn how to read and do, literacy things of that nature. How important was it for you to not necessarily take away a dream of a kid who sees, folks like ourselves who, journalists or athletes, how important was it for you, though, to not take that dream from them, but to also add another dream to them, but maybe they could be a doctor, a lawyer, in that kind of capacity?
Yeah, well, we just want to, let them know that, they can aspire to be what they see, because if you think about it, these kids, what do? They want to do one of 3 things. They want to be either an athlete, they want to be a recording artist or a TV star. And so they want to aspire to those things. And I feel like what you guys are doing is phenomenal because they see these things and that's what they want to do. And they believe that now, hey, we can do this also. But they can also be a doctor. They can be a lawyer. They can be all those other things. And so that's why we felt it was important initially to do grade level reading, because if you can't read, there's a whole lot of other things you can't do, right?
So you can't count your money if you can't read.
Exactly. Exactly. You can't count that money, and so you got to be able to do those things. And so once they do that, then so many other doors open up.
Folks, I'm talking with Chuck Capel, the founder and CEO for Hope for Learning. Remember, you can go to hopeforlearning.org. And now we're going to talk about, a great endeavor that he's doing now, some mobile delivery an engagement hub, where they're trying to raise up to $125,000 for this. So what is this, what is the van for?
This engagement van is for, we have our volunteers and people who are working with us who, using their own vehicles to go around to all these schools. So we visit schools every week. We have schools in Richmond, Henrico, and Chesterfield. And so we're driving our vehicles. We're loading our vehicles. We're packing and stacking stuff in those cars. And sometimes it's food, and sometimes it's clothing, sometimes it's basic need, hygiene stuff. And, you know, when you start taking things around like food, right, you might get some spills in the car. You might get some damage from something like that. And so we're trying to get this vehicle where we can be able to not only to keep from using our own vehicles, but to also be able to carry twice as much stuff. And so we're trying to get a vehicle where we can shelf it out, have it made out, have the shelves out, so we can set things up in there strategically, and so that we can go about to these events and schools and things, and have our stuff that we can take and do a much smoother job with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that, you know, we talked about, you know, Chuck and myself, was, you know, how can we merge these things together with the world that I'm in of the NFL. And I've already, you know, spoken to some of the guys, and a lot of the guys said they're going to be on board, you know, so we can get some of these kids and have them come up to some games, you know, give them an experience that they'll never forget. And speaking of the games, you know, I do have to ask you, Chuck, like, do you have an actual team that you root for all the time?
Well,
here we go.
You put me on the spot. I gotta say the Washington Commanders. You know, I gotta say that.
Okay.
You know, and these kids, you know, like, you know, they get excited when an adult or a parent comes by the school at break time and play basketball out the court,
right,
or something like that. So, you know, having guys like yourself and the team that you work with, they would be extreme happy, man, to just be able to come to school one day and know that, you know, they're going to have a player from the Commanders come by, or they're going to have a reporter come by, an announcer, sports announcer like yourself. So they get excited about stuff like that. And it just does so much for the soul of the kid.
Man, you know, I got to tell you, you know, we talked about this, and, you know, I'm honored that you wanted to be a part of this, you know, part of my journey. You know, I truly am, you know, because like I said, folks, anyone that's doing good stuff, you know, things in the community that, you know, and he's not seeking any kind of publicity or anything. I basically told him, come on, you can come on the show, you know, so he's here to do that. And, you know, naturally, it's NFL show, you know, myself, Alan, you know, the offensive line guru over there in the booth over there, being from the area and things like that. Was there ever a player, you know, Chuck, now that you grew up cheering for more so than others? You know, did you have a favorite guy growing up in the NFL?
In the NFL? Yeah. Oh man, I had a number of guys, you know, I was a favorite of, you know, and funny that you asked me, because it might not be your thing. You might think I might say like a quarterback or maybe a running back.
That's okay.
I mean, I look at guys like, you know, Lambert in the Steelers, you know, and linebackers, you know, those guys, man. And
that's before Allen's time.
That's before Allen's time.
That's before Allen's time. I don't even know if he knows who Jack Lambert is.
Yeah, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, you know, those guys, man. And
so were you a Steelers fan growing up?
Like, you know, my uncle is a lifelong season ticket Steeler fan.
Okay, but that doesn't mean
if I don't know Lambert, LeBeau, and all those guys, man, like
you wouldn't be able to come home, right?
I don't get owned.
You know, I'm not really. I wouldn't say that I was a team guy. Like, I'm more like a player guy. So if you got good players, I don't care what team is on, I'm rooting for that guy.
Right.
I mean, I might be rooting for one team this weekend, and next weekend another team playing. I see a guy that I really, really, really like.
Right.
Oh, I'm rooting for them. You know, so I just pick guys, man, who are doing great things, man, and that's what I did.
So that's probably why you're a Commanders fan now, because of Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. Were you ever a Lamar Jackson fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, you know, people say you're team hopping. You just go for the person.
I didn't want to say that, but
you're just going for the person that's really doing good right now. No, it's not like that.
Okay.
I just like that fire, man.
Right. And you know what? With what I do, people ask me all the time, how, you know, being from DC and, you know, now you know, you're an insider with the team. Like, how do you handle that? And I'm like, you know, I lost my fandom a while ago, because this is the job that we have to do. And Alan will tell you, we've seen more negative nights than we have positive nights doing this. But with that said, I cheer for players. I cheer for individual guys that I know that I'm cool with to have success, you know, because that's their livelihood. That's what they do. So I'm going to put you on the spot here, Chuck, real quick before we wrap this segment up. It's early, it's OTAs. You were just looking at some of the videos I shot this week up there, blah, blah, blah. But do you have a sense of who you would like to see in the Super Bowl this year?
Wow. Who I would like to see in the Super Bowl.
I did put you on the spot. I know we didn't talk about that off the air.
Now, people are going to think I'm just being biased because I'm in the studio here with you now. You did with the race. I mean, we did it with Commanders, but I mean, we get so close so many times, man, and it's almost like they're talking about the Knicks right now. They haven't had a championship in like 53 years.
53 years.
So I'm like, with the Commanders, man, we get so close. It would be good to see them in that, this time.
It would. And business would be booming. I know that.
and then I got to be biased a little bit more again. Like I said, the Ravens need to get in there. The Steelers need to get in there. My boy, escapes my name. He's right here in Richmond.
Okay.
He's just retired.
Okay.
He's getting ready to go into Russell Wilson. Russell, I mean, when I was following Russell around all around the league, man, every time he move, I'll move too, So I'm like you. I'm a players guy. I like to see the guys, man, who really making a lot of noise, who doing some good stuff, man. And it's just exciting to watch, So that's what I'm doing.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, my friend, you are welcome to come on this show anytime. Greatly appreciate you coming out today, taking some time out of your day. You can stick around with us. It's up to you, but we do have to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to get into the Washington Commanders a little bit more as far as what are they after seeing them in OTAs, obviously minicamp, which is mandatory next week. So Big Laramie Tunsil should be in the building next week. We'll be back and we'll talk about all of those things when we come back here. You're listening to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show here on ESPN Radio. The Lake Lewis Jr. Show right here on ESPN Radio. Remember, you can check this also on HD Radio. What is that? 103.6? 103.7. Okay, there we go with those numbers, Alan. And then, of course, you're listening to 106.1 right now. So that's important. You can also go back and watch this on YouTube later on this evening. You can go to my channel, which is at Lake Lewis Jr. Very simple. And it's at Lake Lewis Jr. on everything. People ask me about my social media. Look, it's at Lake Lewis Jr. You're only going to get one of me. So, remember, you can check that stuff out on there as well. Also, great segment. Last segment, want to thank Chuck Capel for coming on, the founder and CEO of Hope for Learning. And remember, go to hopeforlearning.org and help them, help these kids here in our area. So that's very important stuff. And I appreciate his company now for being one of our sponsors here on the show. And that's a growing movement, folks. So we're trying to help local businesses who are doing some great things as well. So with that said, Alan, I know you missed me the other day. I could hear it through through my earbuds, in the bubble the other day. I could tell you missed me being here in studio, didn't you?
Nah, not really. Actually, it's crazy. I think that was the first episode you've ever had where you didn't make a Penn State reference.
You know what? False.
Did you make one? I just missed it?
Because I did, because we talked about Katron Allen.
Ah, yeah. But did you say we are?
No, you just did. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
I appreciate that.
I'm just trying to keep your streak alive, man.
You just did. I appreciate that.
How's Katron looking?
Listen, Trent said he's popping out on tape.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but like I said, he was a forgotten person in the draft. People were like,
bowling ball,
the all-time leading rusher at Penn State, and he goes in the 6th round. I don't understand.
Well, you know how it is, man. Some of this stuff is, especially with running backs, is based off how you test. If you run a 4.2, you're guaranteed to go in the first 3 rounds. If you're around like 4,
be good,
I know it doesn't mean anything, but
Yep.
a lot of people draft based off of your measurements when it comes to that position at running back. I thought he was fine. I kind of go a little deeper dive in running backs on evaluating them, but I'm also not a general manager, so there's that. But this could be a steal.
Yeah, it is going to be a steal
as an asset.
Ultimately, this guy's going to get a lot of carries, and I know some of my colleagues like, oh, he's going to have a tough time making the roster. Don't know what planet they landed on, but he's definitely going to make the roster and then some.
I remember that was the thing being said, like after the draft in general, was like, well, yeah, we got Katron Allen. but I don't know if he's going to make the roster. And I'm like, kind of said that about Bill Krosky-Merritt too. And I'm like, look, these guys were not the graded rounds that they got drafted in. Trust me.
So if I were to ask you right now, with that Commanders backfield, their running back room right now consisting of, and you even have the young kid from that was undrafted from University of Texas San Antonio. He looks pretty good too. But let's talk about the first four in no particular order. But you have Bill Krosky-Merritt, you have Rashad White, you have Jerome Ford, you have Jeremy McNichols. Are you telling me that Katron Allen can't move one or two of those guys out of there?
Well, I've always said I thought Ford was the odd man out there. Rashad White has a skill set that I think they definitely want to utilize.
For sure.
Jeremy McNichols and Rashad White are complementary to one another in my mind. So if they want to use Rashad White, they definitely want to use McNichols as well. And he's got a little bit more clout with the playmaking ability for the team.
Yeah. And
then to me, Bill Krosky-Merritt is their all around back there. Like he can give a little bit of what Rashad White can do, but he's the best pure running back when it comes to vision and big playability. Like he's a home run guy. If he gets to the second level, he can outrun a lot of people, and he's got the vision and skill set to do it. Katron Allen, I know it's going to start out that he's just moving the chains, but if you're going to get grittier, if you're going to get more physical, that's your guy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep telling. I keep telling people because this is kind of like Detroit's offense a little bit with David Blau. That's where he came from. I'm looking at Katron in the kind of the David Montgomery, Sonic and Knuckles, type role,
Sonic
but
hitting him hurts.
But that's what he is. He's a guy, he's a bruiser. He's a guy that can run in between the tackles, but he's deceptively fast. I'm not going to say he's a burner because he's not, but he's a guy that when you watch the film and you go back and you look at the tape of him at Penn State, every time you looked, he was attacking the second level of defenses, which means that you have to have vision, but you got to have a little bit of burst in between the tackles to get there. And I think that that's going to surprise some people. I also will say this, and then we'll move on from that because, I can talk.
Well, I got a comp for him, too. I think you might like.
Who's that?
Maurice Jones-Drew a little bit. Like he wasn't like blazing fast, and I'm not saying he's gonna have that kind of career, but I'm saying like his style.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
his
style.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Was more Maurice Jones-Drew to me.
Maurice was just like one and only, man. He was just my God, that
the
guy.
muscle hamster, Doug Martin. Rest in peace.
A muscle hamster.
Yeah, but he's a big guy, man. When you hit him, you hit him. You hit him.
I like that.
Yeah, like you need these big stocky backs, man.
Yeah, and you need that in today's NFL.
For sure.
The days of having just one singular feature
that's
back,
been dead for a while.
Yeah, man. You these rooms now.
Even Derrick Henry sharing carries.
But Derrick Henry's a lot older. Too.
Yeah, he's one of one himself.
Yeah, he was. But when he was younger, he wasn't sharing carries.
Yeah, that was back in the
and
day.
he probably should have been sharing carries in Baltimore if they wanted to get to where we thought they could get. But then they messed that up. So Tom Monk is on the road. Now he's in Cleveland. So a whole nother story for a whole nother day. So folks, what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk about what I've seen, obviously, for OTAs. This past week was OTA 7 that was open for us in the media. And again, just to see the intensity level. You heard the guys when they came on the show with me talking about the intensity level. Alan, you remember the days when OTAs were like, man, you'd be lucky if 60% of your main starters showed up,
Yeah, OTAs was, why am I here?
Right. That's exactly what it was.
And I'm supposed to report it.
Right. and now everyone's there. And the practices, I was afraid to even talk about how intense the practices were because I know you're not supposed to go all out, and the league monitors those things. The Ravens used to get in trouble all the time.
Yeah, all the Harbaugh team.
Yeah, because they had very physical OTAs and off-season workouts were more like practices. Well, I can tell you, Washington's doing what they're supposed to do. They're not doing anything illegal, anything like that, but they're pushing that boundary as far as they can possibly push it as far as the intensity level. And you saw in one of my stand-ups, they brought the players to the middle of the field, which they do before every practice. And, you can hear it. You can hear some of the words being said, but basically guys weren't getting where they needed to get on the field fast enough. And they made them do it twice to get back there. And it just goes to show you they're not even taking that little nuance of starting practice as a group. They still wanted those guys hustling, busting their tails, getting to where they needed to be. That's the sign of urgency that you're going to need, especially when you look at how they have to start the season this year.
Yeah, you know that the old saying goes, you practice how you play. That is true. And you got to set the tone, and the time when you're not really feeling like it is the time that the tone really needs to be set, because again, the NFL season is a long season. I think fans don't realize that. We might say it, but you get into this locker room, the energy you got week 1 is not the energy you got week 18. And it takes something special, and it takes that, like, you know, those scars basically, right? They scab over as the season gets longer, and you remember when it was OTAs, you remember when it was training camp, you remember when you didn't want to do it and you had to start all over again. Like that to me is prepping them not to get the false start, not to get the holding, not to get these lazy plays, not to get beat on the 3rd and 1, things like that. So it's good to see that. I know people think some of that stuff's corny at this level, being the highest level of football, but the fundamentals are the fundamentals.
Yeah, you know, and it's nothing like being on the air and getting an email from the league, you know. So I just kind of threw me off a little bit there, but no, we're good, all good, all good. You know, when you see what Washington is trying to accomplish, you know, it's early. They've got a new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator. For you know, everything I've heard from all the players, everyone's bought into it and everyone's excited because it looks more modern. You know, it looks like, let's be honest, Cliff Kingsbury's offense wasn't, you know, I don't want to say it, but you can say it, Alan. What did they call his offense?
It was still.
Yeah, and they called it a college offense.
Yeah, when people say college offense, though, I sometimes wonder.
That's a lot of offenses in the NFL.
Yeah, because I was going to say, at this point in the NFL, especially with like the usage of the RPO, like that's pretty much what college is, right?
And
like,
that's why so many of these young quarterbacks have come in and hit the ground running.
Yeah,
because it's been scaled down for them to have some early success. But when you get to a Super Bowl and you're seeing Drake May told to read a NFL defense is coming downhill, you saw that's not his strength. Bo Nix in Denver. The only quarterback that I saw immediately do that was Jaden. So how much was that a college offense for Cliff if Jaden was the quarterback, ironically, that had the most success? Was it because it was a college offense, or was it because they didn't put training wheels on the kid?
I don't know. Well, I will say this. I always complained from the very first play. And you probably remember, like literally the very first time I watched Cliff Kingsbury calling plays, he did not work with Jaden to build a rhythm. There was no rhyme or reason to his play calling. Yeah, it's just calling the play. There was no first down to set up the second down. There's no second down to set up the third down. Look, it's second and long. Let's try to get into a third and short. Nope, we're going all for it right now. We're going to end up in 3rd and long, and we're just going to hope that your playmaking ability can make it work. That approach, I think the approach was very collegiate. I don't think the system itself I would describe as a college offense. And when people say that, I question it, because there are a lot of college offenses. Let me tell you about your boy Jalen Hurts and his Super Bowl run, right? That was a real college. It really was. Shane Steichen's offense is a college offense, right? The elements of Shane Steichen's offense is built around Eric Coryell, which is also familiar with Joe Gibbs and stuff like that. So you're insulting a lot of levels of football when you look at simplified things and scoff at it. Like, you want it to be simple.
Well, and it's also a slap in the face to the player. So, you know, with Jaden, you know, year 3 right now loading for this guy, and people are like, you know, we'll see if he can run a pro offense. No, I mean, some of the things that he did.
I say Patrick Mahomes look like he running a college offense. If we're going to be critical.
Stop it.
It's nonsense.
There you go.
It's nonsense.
So you always say to me, can we get through a show without me mentioning Penn State? Can we get through a show without you dogging Patrick Mahomes? That hate you have for him is real.
I only hate the greats.
It's at an all-time high, man.
I only hate the greats.
We can't do that.
Aaron Donald's coming back. Wait till that happens.
So I spoke to somebody recently. I won't say who, and this is real stuff. You know this.
Yeah.
And he said, not a chance he's coming back.
I hope not, because his wife tweeted absolutely not, and I hope that stays.
Yeah, he said not a chance.
She tweeted pretty quickly.
He said, you know, it's getting good fanfare, good clicks and all that, but he's not coming back. You know, he made it a point when he retired that he was done.
Yes.
And he said he only wanted to play a certain amount of years anyway, and he went past those years.
Yes, go enjoy your time with your family.
I'm just telling you out there, folks, you know, these are people that I talk to, my sources. And let me rephrase that, because I never use the word sources. Just people that I talk to a lot. Okay, and they said he's not coming back. So I'm gonna go with them on this.
Sending you well wishes, Aaron Donald, and your happy retirement from a Niners fan. You stay home, please.
Well, listen, folks, it's that time again for me to take another break here. So when we come back, we're gonna switch gears here a little bit, have some fun, with Alan as far as some quick fire stuff. I've been doing that with the guys, with the players, and they love it, man. They're like, how you coming up with some of these questions, and they're not scripted. They're not written down. There's only thing in front of me right now is my little tablet, and I had some notes when Chuck was on. But I got some questions for you that I'm going to try to fire up at you. Do we want to bring up Brandon Ayuk or not? Because
yes, we do.
I'm kind of tired of hearing people talk about it. It just happened to be, 10 months ago, I said he was coming to the Commanders. There's nothing that makes me believe that that's not happening. He is posting stuff in Commanders gear. So, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So we'll talk about that just a little bit. I don't want to go too far with that, but we'll talk about that when we come back here on the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. Welcome back, everyone. Final segment of today's program here on ESPN Radio. Listening to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. Myself, NFL Insider. This is what is marketed for me. NFL Insider, TV Analyst, ESPN Radio.
Why you look at me like you
I just, because I just
title.
like, man, just.
I mean, that's what you introduce yourself to me as.
But I hate titles, though. You know what I mean? Because it's like you're seeking something, But
my title comes with the pay grade increase. Call me what you want to call me.
Yeah, that's why I mess with you so much, man, because he puts stuff in perspective for me.
Yeah.
I've worked for this, man. You know what I'm saying? We worked for this, so we can't. I'm not gonna give it back. That's for sure. I won't be able to come home if I did.
Absolutely.
You already know that.
Like who?
So one of these things with the Commanders, that came up the other day. I was driving home, and one of my boys called me, and he said to me, Brandon, he was like, the whole Brandon Ayuk thing, man, I'm just tired of hearing about it. I know you talked about it before, but I'm tired of hearing about it. And then I'm like, but you got to understand, my producer here, man, is he's a Niners guy. And so he knows about the stories and all those things. And we talked about this well before I even came on air here. And it's starting to really surface more and more because he's posting these bizarre, things on on his social media on IG. And I just want to tell people, and I'm not defending the kid at all. I'm not doing any of that. However, I just want to say, you guys do understand this is an orchestration to get out of San Francisco. Like, he's doing these things.
I get it,
but people are like, oh, he's going the AB route.
I mean,
it
feels really AB-ish.
But it doesn't, because, and I don't want to put AB out there like that. But you talking about perhaps someone that's dealing with something mentally,
yes.
And that could be CTE, it could be a couple of things. And we know he took some hits to the head. He absolutely did. Last time I looked, Brandon Ayuk just, tore his knee up. I truly believe it's just him being him. But at any point, Alan, and I want to ask you this, with you being a Niners guy, at any point when he was in San Francisco before the injury, did you ever hear of him as a malcontent?
No, but I know he was a strange guy based off of like a personal interview with him and seeing him in the locker room when he came to see when they played the Commanders. He was definitely a different cat. How
many different cats have we dealt with?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So if he is lashing out or acting out, I would believe it if he came to Washington and immediately switched it up. That would not surprise me. Right. However, I personally wouldn't take that risk. Obviously, Adam Peters knows him way better than I do. And if he's willing to take that risk, that's fine. I just feel like, we could have went the TO route. You could have just done some sit-ups in your driveway. The Niners have made no secret that they don't want you there. You've made it no secret that you don't want to be there. So it's not like they're holding you hostage.
Well, speaking of TO, because that's my guy too. That's my dude.
Yeah.
The sit-ups and all of those things, people thought that was bizarre and thought that he was a headache and a cancer. But when you,
But I knew that was T.O. being T.O.
but see, this is Brandon being Brandon. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no mental issues here. This is just him being him, and he is a little different. He is. He's definitely different, very eccentric. But at the end of the day, he's a hell of a football player. And when he made the comment about bringing out the belt, that's when the hairs on my arm stood up, because that doesn't sound like a guy that's hurt. That doesn't sound like a guy that's not in shape. That doesn't sound like a guy that's doubtful that he can come back and be dominant. That sounds like a guy who's looking for the opportunity to come to Washington to show that he's a monster. And if Washington gets a version of that, it's going to be some real interesting things going on, especially before Week 6 Monday Night Football at San Francisco will be. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm sure Fred Warner and those guys are shaking in their boots. But it's nothing against him. It's just one of those things where I'm like, they've seen enough of him. I don't think they'd be that intimidated. But a motivated professional athlete is always going to be a plus, right?
That's
you would always assume that a motivated professional athlete, especially one with talent, is always going to be on the plus side. He would definitely slot in well with what they need in Washington, as there still needs to be a guy that's willing to step up and be wide receiver 2 for this team.
All right, so this is where I wanted to go with this. You were the target. You were the mark today for this.
I'm cool with it.
For my rapid fire questions, and they're just quick answers. You can explain why, but you got to give the answer quickly. Okay. All right. So first person up on the board. If you're Washington, you're the Commanders, and you are thinking about going out and getting another receiver, which I am pretty confident as of right now. They feel pretty good about what they have in their room. Ironically, and that wide receiver room does not look that bad right now, because you have a healthy Terry McLaurin in the best shape I've ever seen this guy come into any camp. And he's doing work out there. He looks great. Van Jefferson, De'Ami Brown giving you a deep threat. Antonio Williams catches everything near his catch radius. Luke McCaffrey's back healthy. Treylon Burks looks really good. Looks like the first round talent that the Tennessee Titans thought that they were getting. So he could have a resurrection to his career. So right now the wide receiver room doesn't look that bad. Hell, even the kid Bradley, from UNLV, gives them some size, looks pretty good as well. So they've got some tough decisions they'll have to make in that room, regardless if they do this. And this is the question to you. The first one is, if you are looking for another receiver to help that room, who are you taking? If both of them are sitting there available, the whole situation's over with the 49ers, and you have a Brandon Ayuk sitting there and you have a Stephon Diggs sitting there, who are you going with?
I would go with Ayuk if all things considered. Yeah. I mean, Diggs' best days are behind him. It's not that he can't help. But what you're looking for is a bona fide wide receiver 2 that's got playmaking ability, which playmaking ability in today's NFL means yak, and Diggs ain't going to get you no yak.
All right, so here's the other rapid fire question, because you're playing right into my hands here. This is good stuff here on ESPN Radio, really good stuff. So if you were to take Ayuk and you can get him in there before, let's just say because it's going to happen, but it's going to happen late. And I keep telling people it's not going to happen until late August. It's just 49ers have no reason to just let him walk right now. They're going to squeeze that orange as tightly as they can, to see what they can get for him. No one's going to trade for the guy, though. That's just the way it is. And no one wants to consume that contract. So with that said, if you're Washington and you were to get him in, and let's just say you get him in late August, is he your number 2 by default right off the top? If he shows that he's healthy?
Yes, I think he would definitely be the second best wide receiver on this roster without question.
We agree. But does that mean you put him at number 2?
I would not put him at number 2. He's got to work in like everybody else. You want to make sure that he gets his rhythm and chemistry with Jaden. I mean, it's been years since they've been on the same field together. So
okay,
nobody's above the rules.
If he's here in Washington, does it help Terry? Or does it hurt Terry? And I mean that sincerely. Yeah, no. We naturally, as football guys and reporters, will say, clearly it's going to help Terry because you have another weapon on the field. But will it hurt Terry from the production standpoint, knowing that now you have another another dog out there.
It only hurts Terry if they occupy the same space, and I do not consider them to be occupants of the same space in any system.
Absolutely not. You got one guy that's going to kill on the slot.
Yeah.
The guy's going to work like intermediate outside.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help. Okay. So let's keep this train rolling as if this were to happen. Who's your number 3 receiver?
Who's my number 3? I would love it to be Treylon Burks, but he's got to prove it. I would love it to be Luke McCaffrey, but he's going to have to prove it. I would love to be Diami, who I heard has gained some size. He's going to have to prove it. Yes. I know the Jets of Van Jefferson is tantalizing, and then we got Antonio Williams, and I say all that to say somebody's got to step up. It's going to be a competition for the 3rd spot if I'm the Commanders.
And you know who the number 3 receiver will be? It will be
Antonio
Williams.
Yeah.
Good call.
That's who I think it'll be. I love Jalen Lane as well. That's my guy, but I don't think he can beat out Williams.
All right. Final question for you before we wrap up today's show. This is a tough one, and I'm doing this, way early. But if Brandon Ayuk does come to town, which I think he will, how many receivers does this team keep if that's the case? Do they keep 6? Do they keep 7? I've been saying they're going to keep 7 because 2 of those guys are special teams aces, and Luke McCaffrey, who's a kickoff returner, and then obviously Jalen Lane. VTech's Jalen Lane. He is a great punt returner. So you're going to keep 7 receivers.
I think McCaffrey and Lane are good to stay. I would think Van Jefferson would maybe
he's their fastest receiver.
Yeah, he's the fastest. But if you get Ayuk, I mean, Burke is still fast and can stretch the field. Terry's going to stretch the field. Lane's got some jets on him too. Even if he's not known to hit the field much, he can also stretch the field. I just feel like you don't need but so many vertical options, especially when you've been telling everybody we're going to run the ball.
Okay.
All right. If you're going to run the ball, show it.
All right. So, we got a minute before we wrap up here, 30 seconds or less. Who are the 2 odd ones out?
I went out looking at your roster now. I think it's Jacoby Jones if he's there, and was it the young man from UNLV, Jaden Bradley? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can be out of there too.
Okay, all right. So
practice squad. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to fully cut him. Practice squad. Folks, appreciate you joining us today. Appreciate Chuck Capel for coming on from Hope for Learning. Remember, you can check out Hope for Learning at hopeforlearning.org. And then also my super producer, Alan. Good to be back here in studio. We've got a lot coming up over the next week or 2. So make sure you hang out with us here on the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. Appreciate you guys. Take care.